Hi everyone, thanks for joining our latest NetElixir webinar. So we're going to go over today 5 AdWord tips for SMBs, small changes that will lead to a big ROI. So what we wanted to do with this webinar is to give some basic tips to those SMBs who are either trying to run their AdWords themselves and not confident it's working, or as an agency handling it, would like to bring it in-house. So the agenda for today. Okay. So our focus today is on 2 things. There are 2 things that need in order to have an effective AdWords account. First, a strong setup. You need to make sure you're set up properly for success. Second, you want to make sure you're optimizing your account and making the necessary changes after reading the data. That brings us to these 5 changes to make that can greatly improve your account. First off is adjusting keyword bids. Well, we'll discuss the importance of adjusting bids on a keyword level. Second, we'll talk about adding negative keywords to make sure you're not throwing money away. Next, looking into the where, when Sam will discuss looking into locations and adjusting bids based on that data. After that, we'll look into devices and discuss how important it is to track things on device level and adjust those bids. Finally, Google Shopping and how it's not a set it and forget it tool. And lastly, we field some questions. So if you do have any questions throughout the demo, please feel free to write them in the questions box. We're going to take them all at the end, but we'll hopefully have some time to answer them all for you. Speaking today is myself, Ron Toth. I'm a client development manager here on the Elixir Guide team, and I'm joined by Sam Keller, customer success associate for Elixir Guide.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining.
Okay. So we're currently at NetElixir here, 130 plus fanatically analytical employees across our 3 global offices. We currently service over 120 retail brands, and you can see some of those clients on the right-hand side here. Customers like Lenovo, Teleflora, Ashley Stewart, among some. We're also proud to be a Google Premier Partner, a Bing Select Agency, and a preferred search marketing partner of UPS. Here at NetElixir, we're a search marketing agency dedicated to decoding what makes people click. We don't just look at the numbers, we understand your customers are people and have motivations, wants, and needs. It's important to understand the people behind the purchases before we jump into the numbers. That allows us to be more customer focused. We provide paid search services, SEO, display advertising, paid social, Amazon Marketplace services, and marketing technology services. In addition to our NetElixir offerings, I want to make you aware of our powerful PPC recommendation software, Elixir Guide. The tool analyzes your account using machine learning and will recommend the necessary changes to optimize your account. For those of you who'd like to get a free scorecard of how well your account is performing, we've been running a raffle contest this past month. If you log into elixirguide.com/raffle and have your account scored, you'll be put in a raffle to win a free Amazon Echo. We'll be picking a winner on June 7th. Okay, before jumping in, we wanted to take a quick poll for everyone. We're curious to see how everyone is managing their AdWords account setup. So you should be seeing this popping up on the screen. Okay, so the question here, how are you currently managing your AdWords account? So we have managing in-house, working with an agency, using a software, or no active AdWords account. We'll give just a few seconds. We actually have a lot clicking pretty quickly here, so we'll give just a couple more seconds, okay? Okay, perfect. So we got a good turnout here. And if you can see the results here, a good amount, 44% managing in-house, 33% working with an agency, nobody using a software, and 22% no active AdWords account. Great info, guys. Thanks for that. Okay, so we're going to start. We're going to jump in here with the what is the problem? Why are people having difficulties managing their AdWords account? AdWords is hard. I don't have time to learn this stuff. I don't have the resources to hire someone. AdWords is just straight up confusing and the dashboard is hard to navigate. The list goes on and on of why you aren't optimizing your account properly. Today we're going to give you just a few tips that can make managing your AdWords account a little easier. Okay, next slide here. Okay, so I think it makes sense to bring up the Pareto principle. For many events, roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. It's the small things that matter. You don't have to be an expert, spend all day in your AdWords. Small changes to the account will make a huge difference. Okay, so let's get started. As we said earlier, the first step in having an effective AdWords account is a strong setup. Just like with houses, everything has to start with a good foundation. Starting off with a strong setup is exactly that for AdWords. So Sam, take it away.
Thanks, Ron. So before you even start coming up with your campaigns, you'll want to decide on a strategy for what products or what categories you want to focus on in those campaigns. So instead of trying to focus on every product in your inventory, you should try to focus on your top performing products. And this is especially true if you have a limited budget. So going back to the Pareto principle that Ron had mentioned earlier, we usually recommend focusing on the top 20% of your products in terms of profitability. You'll also want to make sure that you're focusing on the products with the higher average order value. So for example, if I run an electronics store and two of my top products are batteries and TVs, I'll probably want to focus on TVs in AdWords first, because this is likely where I'll make the greatest profit, even if I'm not selling as many TVs as I am batteries. So we'll go to the next slide here. So another feature of a well-structured account is campaigns and ad groups that are specific and tightly related. So taking a look at this example from AdWords, you can see that this electronics company breaks down its campaigns into televisions and cameras. So this is better than having just one campaign for all electronics, as you'll be able to have more control over your budget. So for example, if you wanted to push more ads for cameras one specific week, you can easily increase the budget here for the cameras campaign. This will also help you have more insight into performance. So by segmenting the campaigns into related categories and ad groups, you can see how televisions as a whole are performing, in addition to how specific kinds of TVs are performing. Next, we'll move into how you should be optimizing your ad copy. So your ad copy is what will set you apart in the search results and get users to click on your ad over your competitor. So it's definitely important that you spend time optimizing this. Here at NetElixir, we've done a lot of research on this topic and found a lot of best practices, such as adding the phrase official site to your display URL can increase your click-through rate by 5%. But we do know it's hard to keep on top of all these best practices. So if you'd like your own copy of our PPC Copywriting 101 white paper, you can send me an email at samantha.keller@lxrguide.com and I'll send that your way. Finally, one last note is to keep budget in mind when creating your setup and adding keywords to your account. So you don't want to create a setup that's too big for the budget you have in mind, so you'll want to look into the average top of page bid when adding keywords to your campaigns. If you take a look at the example at the top of this slide, you'll see that the keyword blue running shoes can cost upwards of $3 a click. So if your budget for a specific campaign, for example, is set around $30, you'll only be able to afford about 10 clicks a day on this keyword alone, so not even including all the other keywords that are in this account. So it might be a better idea to skip this keyword and maybe opt for one with a lower average CPC. As a general rule, we usually recommend sticking to a budget of around $7 per keyword per day.
Great, thanks, Sam. So to recap, starting off with a strong setup, make sure to not focus on every single one of your products. Make sure those campaigns and ad groups are tightly related. Your ad copy needs to stand out versus your competition. So definitely reach out to Sam if you'd like a free copy of that PPC Copywriting 101. And always keep budget in mind when adding keywords. Okay, to start with the optimizations now. So the first one, regularly adjust keyword bids. Sam's going to show you how to look to the keyword level when adjusting bids.
All right, so moving into our first optimization here. So if you're currently managing your AdWords account in-house, as I saw a lot of people are on the webinar right now, you're probably already doing this to some extent, but we're trying to give you more of a structure when doing this. So instead of kind of just changing the bids randomly, you'll want to split them into these three buckets. So first, you'll want to sort your keywords by performance, and this can be however you determine success, whether it be the number of conversions you're bringing in, the average order value, or the amount you're bringing in revenue relative to the amount you're spending in AdWords. So first, you'll want to sort your columns in order to find your top performing products. These are going to be the keywords you want to increase your bids for. You can then sort your columns in the same campaign to find your lowest performing keywords, and that way you can find your groups of keywords you want to decrease the bids for. And then finally, you can look into any keywords that just haven't gotten any impressions yet. And you'll also want to increase bids for these keywords so that you'll show up in the search results on them. So for all of these bid adjustments, you'll want to just be making them gradually. So as a general rule, you can increase or decrease bids by 15 to 30% at a time. And you should also make sure to keep a 15% difference between the different keyword match types. So you should always bid the most on exact match keywords, as these will only trigger the searches that you exactly put in as a keyword. Then your bids for phrase match should be around 15% less than those of exact, and then broad should be even 15% less than phrase, as the broad match keywords will typically use up the biggest chunk of your budget. All right, so how does adjusting keyword bids on a weekly basis help your account? So first, you'll increase your conversions by increasing bids for those keywords that are already working. You'll also be able to decrease bids and spend less on keywords that just aren't as profitable as some of those higher performing ones. And you'll be able to increase the visibility of your ads through increasing bids for keywords that just don't have any impressions yet. It's important to keep in mind here that not all keywords are profitable at the first page bid, so you'll want to incrementally work your way up to see what CPC works best. So you might have seen this notification in your account that your keyword is below the first page bid, but if you take a look at this example, it's a pretty large jump from $528 to $1350, and this could cause you to use up a lot of your budget pretty quickly. So we'll definitely recommend moving kind of gradually from that $528 to the $1350. So we could take a look at two examples now. So in this first example, we're going to take a look at one of our current clients that sells parts for tattoo machines. So for the first example, I've ordered the keywords here by performance, which in this case we're tracking in terms of conversion value over cost. And this just determines how much they're getting in return for each dollar they put into AdWords. So none of these keywords are currently at the top spot, as you can see by in that average position column on the right there. However, they're all performing really well for the account. If you take a look at the tattoo machines keyword, 3 rows down that I've highlighted, you can see that this keyword isn't even reaching the first page bid. So in order to increase performance on this keyword, we'll want to gradually raise the bid by around 15% at a time to see how the keyword performs as you approach that first page bid of $1.12. Then next, in that same campaign, I've ordered the keywords to show the keywords that don't have the impressions. So some of these keywords that I highlighted aren't showing because the bids are just too low. In this case, you'll want to increase the bids for these keywords gradually until they start receiving impressions. So you wouldn't want to, again, increase your bid right away to that first page bid, especially if it's a big jump from your current CPC.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sam. So to recap this first section, you want to increase bids for your top performing keywords, decrease bids for those that are costing you more money. Make sure to increase bids for those keywords with no impressions yet. You want to give them a shot and make sure your bid adjustment should be gradual. Keep it within 15 to 30% at a time. Okay, moving on to number 2. Don't forget the negatives. So Sam's going to highlight the importance of figuring out which keywords and terms you should never show up for and what to do with them.
All right, so our second optimization is you're going to want to be making in your account is regularly adding negative keywords. So just as a reminder on what negative keywords actually do, they specify searches that you don't want to be showing up for. So one use of negative keywords is to prevent you from showing up for those unrelated searches. For example, if you sell prescription eyeglasses online, you wouldn't want your ads to show when someone searches drinking glasses in Google. So you can add phrases to prevent this related to drinking glasses as negative keywords, and this will tell AdWords not to show your ads when someone searches on these keywords. Another use of negative keywords is to control which ads show for certain searches by making sure there's no cross-serving between different ad groups. So negative keywords will help your account primarily because they'll decrease wasted spend by blocking your ads for showing for unrelated searches, as I mentioned before. They'll also help you bring in more qualified traffic as you better target the type of searches you want to be showing up for. And then, as I mentioned in the last slide, negative keywords can help reduce cross-serving between different ad groups. So I'll show you an example of what I mean by cross-serving. So in this example, we have 2 different ad groups that are pretty closely related. So ad group number 1 contains the keyword AdWords training among its set of keywords, and then ad group number 2 contains the keyword AdWords training course among its keywords. So if a user were to type in training course for Google AdWords, currently this could call an ad from either of these ad groups. But if you wanted to make sure that an ad from ad group 1 shows up every time someone makes this search, you can add training course for Google AdWords as a negative keyword for ad group 2. So the ad from ad group 1 will always be showing. So if you currently don't have any negative keywords in your account, we've listed out a few here that you can add right away. They're a pretty good start for any online retailer. So words like free, career, jobs, or contact us, these really don't show buying intent, so you wouldn't want to be spending your budget on these clicks. So once you've added some of these keywords, you can look into your search terms report to find some additional negative keywords. So when looking through your search terms report, you'll want to see if there are any unrelated searches that you're showing up for here that you can be adding as a negative keyword. So for example, we can take a look at a report from one of our clients who sells coffee online. So when we looked into the search terms report and noticed their ads were showing up for searches including the term Starbucks. So since this company doesn't sell any Starbucks coffee and they don't want to be bidding on a competitor's name, we added that as a negative keyword so that his ads weren't showing up for these keywords.
Great, thanks, Sam. So to recap tip number 2, negative keywords. Make sure your ads aren't showing up for the unrelated searches. Don't keep throwing money away. And determine which of your ad groups you want to be triggered for specific searches. Okay, moving on to number 3. Looking into the where. Well, you'll learn how to analyze your account, figure out what locations are doing better than others, and making the right changes.
All right, for our next optimization, we'll be looking into how you should adjust your location bids. So on a weekly basis, you should be analyzing how your campaigns and ad groups are performing in different locations. So you can look at this data broken down by country, by regions, by cities. You can also look at it on a zip code or radius basis as well. So as you analyze this data, you'll want to be looking to increase bids for those locations where you're making the biggest return on your investment, and then decrease bids for locations where you might be getting a lot of clicks, but those clicks just aren't leading to conversions. So increasing bids based on location will help you make the most of a limited budget by capitalizing on those long-term patterns of geographical behavior. So we definitely stress long-term here, as sometimes different trends and events can influence these patterns when you just look at the short periods of time. So to analyze this data in AdWords, you can go into your Locations tab and view your geographical report. So right here, we're looking at a screenshot from our LXR Guide software that we introduced earlier, where the software had analyzed this geographic data from the past few weeks and then made recommendations to adjust some bids. So for example, the software saw that this first campaign here, which is a Boots by Size campaign, was performing really well in Colorado. So it made that recommendation to increase bids in Colorado by 29%, so that the ads are shown more frequently in Colorado as opposed to just all the states evenly there.
Great, thank you, Sam. So to recap tip number 3, looking into the where. So you want to make sure to analyze your campaigns broken down by location and adjust bids. Increase those bids in locations that are driving revenue and decrease the ones for regions with a lot of traffic and low number of conversions. Next one, looking into devices. So don't make the mistake of just leaving it up to Google on which device you show up for. Make the right change according to your data.
All right, moving into our next optimization. So you'll want to be focusing on increasing bids for the devices that are driving your conversions. So your goal with this optimization is to drive traffic to the devices bringing in higher profits. So based on the performance for different devices, you'll want to increase bids for the devices that are profitable and then decrease bids for those unprofitable devices. Adjusting your device level bids helps by making your campaigns more efficient so that you'll get a bigger return on your budget and then be able to increase the number of conversions coming in overall. So for example, you might have a campaign that's doing really well on mobile, but isn't even profitable on desktop or tablet. If you were to increase bids on mobile and then decrease bids on desktop and tablet, you can turn an average campaign into one that's actually highly profitable. So here's another screenshot from our LXR Guide software, which had analyzed this account's device level data. And then after it ran its analysis, it found that this ad group was doing really well on mobile. So it's making the recommendation to increase bids for this ad group on mobile. So the ads from this ad group are shown more frequently on mobile as opposed to just all of the different devices evenly.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sam. Good one here. So increase bids on your profitable devices and decrease those for not profitable. Definitely think this optimization is important due to mobile being so important these days. So with mobile traffic going up, and if a site isn't optimized properly, it won't drive revenue. So an effective change in that case could be to decreasing bids for mobile. So, okay, so moving along to our last one of the day. So Google Shopping and how it shouldn't be set it and forget it. We know there's a lot of work that goes into setting up a Google Shopping, but don't make the mistake of thinking you're done and that there isn't any more work to do for it.
All right, so our final optimization is going to be that you can make your account is to update your Google Shopping feed and adjust your product level bids. So to make your Google Shopping feed the best it can be, you should initially add as many fields that you can beyond just what is required by Google. So once you have your shopping feed, you should make sure to regularly update that feed to account for any changes in pricing, inventory, or any new products you want to add to the feed. AdWords requires that you do this at least on a monthly basis, but if possible, you should definitely do that more often. In addition to just updating your feed, you should also be adjusting your product bids based on performance in order to show your most successful products more often. So adding those additional fields to your feed will help by increasing the chances that your products will show. And then, as I mentioned earlier, adjusting your product level bids will increase conversions as you show your top performing products more often. So when increasing those bids for your products, it might be helpful to use the bid simulator in AdWords. So this feature will show how different changes to your CPC will affect the average number of clicks and conversions you will receive as you increase that.
Okay, great, that makes 5. So thanks, Sam, for that. So to recap our final change here, make sure to add detail to your feed and to update it at least once a month and regularly adjust your product bids. Okay, so that brings us to our recap of our 5 optimizations here. So I'm just going to go through all 5 again. You want to regularly adjust your keyword bids. We saw how important it is to target your revenue generating keywords, cost taking keywords, and ones you don't have enough data on. We then went into adding negative keywords to your account. So don't pass this one up. Make sure you find out which keyword and terms you should stay away from. Sam talked about adjusting location bids and using the data Google gives you here. Make the changes and focus on your best locations and limit costs on your worst ones. Next was optimizing campaigns on a device level. With mobile's use skyrocketing, don't treat all devices equally. You can make or break your account based on this optimization. And last, managing your Google Shopping feed and bids. Google Shopping needs constant TLC too. With that, we wanted to do our second poll of the day. We wanted to finish up with a poll asking how many of you feel these tasks are currently being done with your account. So we have it out there, all of them, some of them, none of them, or I don't know. We're curious on what we've seen here. Great, getting filled up here. Give it just a couple more seconds. Okay, looks about finished. I'm just going to close that up and we'll share it. So, okay, so we see 50% here, some of them being done, 15% all of them, and 5% none, 30% I don't know. So, okay, very interesting. Thanks for the poll, guys. Okay, so, all right, so our goal for this webinar was to share some insight that would give you confidence needed to make the right changes for your account. Hopefully we accomplished that with most of you. Even if you took just one change here I could implement, you should see some positive results. For those of you that still don't feel confident managing your account, I want to talk briefly about the software we talked about earlier called Elixir Guide. So to go. Okay, perfect. So Elixir Guide, so it utilizes machine learning to make recommendations for your AdWords account. It automatically reads the data and generates the tasks we discussed earlier. It's simple. You log in, read the recommendations, and just with a few clicks of a button, these changes will post to your AdWords account. For those agencies that are on the phone, this tool also works for you. You'll have a single dashboard. You can see all your clients and how well their account is doing. You can even set up each one with a separate goal and manage them effectively all inside the tool. If you'd like me to take you through a demo or answer any questions, please feel free to reach out. You can email me at ron.toth@elixirguide.com, or you could call me at the number below. Also, for those of you attending the IRCE convention in Chicago on June 5th to 8th, please make sure to stop by our booth number 1501 and say hi to the team. We'd love to speak and go over your account with you. So with that, Sam and I are going to field some questions here now. We saw a few come in, and we'll take a few minutes to go through them. And we'll just read this set here. Okay, so this one here. So Sam, you want to take that one?
All right, so there's one about negative keywords here. So as I mentioned earlier, so the main thing with negative keywords is to kind of determine what you don't want to show up for. So the example I mentioned was drinking glasses versus eyeglasses. So if I am an eyeglass company and am running an ad and I just use the keyword glasses, that could show for when people are actually meaning drinking glasses they're searching for. So if I don't want anyone who's searching with the intent to find those drinking glasses, I can just add those as a negative keyword to my account, and that way I won't show for any searches related to drinking glasses.
If I could jump in with that, Sam. So what I've seen a lot is some companies, they're tracking their keywords and they see some ones that maybe aren't doing well, but maybe they'll just pause them. So it's a keyword they would want to show up for. Those are okay, they'll pause them. Others they want to do for a negative keyword. So let's say, like she said, if you're a sunglass company and someone's looking for drinking glasses, you definitely don't want to show up. So anything you could think of that you should not be anywhere for and you do not want to pay for a click for, put that as a negative keyword. Okay.
And then there's another one that just came in about what my email address is to get that white paper. So that is Samantha, so just my first name, SAMANTHA, .Keller, KELLER, @lxrguide.com. So we'll also be sending that in our follow-up email as well.
Okay, give another couple seconds of the questions.
So one just came in about how this software, so LXR Guide, how does that help my shopping campaigns? So LXR Guide will optimize your shopping campaigns. It'll do that on the device level, so it'll make recommendations to increase and decrease your bids at that product level. So if there's products doing really well one week, the tool will make a recommendation to increase those bids.
Another one, does LXR Guide also talk about devices? So yeah, so what it also does, it does text and it does PLAs, and it will look into one of the optimizations will be on device specific. So if it sees you're making more money on a certain device, or maybe less money, it'll make recommendations for you to increase or decrease bids on those keywords. Good question. Okay.
And then there's one more that came through. So I don't sell to Hawaii. Is there a way to completely exclude a certain state? Yeah, so in addition to adjusting those different bids for locations, you can also alter your location settings in AdWords to completely exclude certain locations. So if there's certain locations you don't ship to, or maybe you just don't want your ads to show up for certain locations due to shipping prices or anything like that, you can exclude those.
Great. We'll give another second. I don't see any more coming in. Okay. All right. Looks like we're done with the questions. So thank you, everyone, for joining today. On behalf of Sam and myself, we definitely thank you for joining and hope you attend our webinars in the future. And we will be sending out an email with this recording. And yeah, thank you again. And bye-bye.
Thank you.